what does U.S. contribution really look like? I mean, I think the Trump administration clearly wants higher oil prices. President Trump was out there talking about a 10 to 50 million barrel a day production cut. But again, he also says that he believes in the free market. It's not clear there's going to be any mandated U.S. production cuts. More likely, U.S. Energy Secretary Brulette will offer up sort of CapEx driven cuts. Let the market basically sit down U.S. barrels. So not a mandated cut, but a U.S. contribution driven by market forces. Is that going to be good enough for the Russians? You had Putin's spokesman out this morning or yesterday morning essentially saying, we want a real cut, not one driven by market forces. So again, it's going to be very tricky to get the final deal put together. There's also the issue of what is the benchmark for assessing a cut? There's some discussion about should Saudi take the benchmark of 12.3 million barrels a day, or should they be forced to cut from levels from January or February? A lot is still in play, and I think it's going to be still challenging to get a deal across the finish line.
And Helima, thinking about this a bit more broadly with regards to the U.S. perspective, I mean, does the president really have that much wiggle room here, given, as you say, the Russians putting a lot of pressure on the United States to get some kind of real and concrete action? And at the same time, Saudi Arabia is saying the same thing, because they've been saying to me for years and years, there can be no real cuts unless the United States is also on board.
Well, I think the key thing is that the Saudis really did want a production cut. I mean, they were pushing for a big production cut from February. So I think from the Saudi perspective, it's really important to get the Russians there. And then the question is, what will the Russians be willing to accept? And there's been some discussion about side discussions around sanctions relief. I mean, one of the arguments that the CEO of Rosneft, Igor Sechin, has said is Russia has reduced production, U.S. production has grown, and Russian corporates like Rosneft have been sanctioned because of American energy abundance. So the question is, are there things that can be done on the sidelines, like offering some form of sanctions relief, that will get Russia across the finish line?
What do you think the total number when it comes to global daily output reductions is going to be? Because if you look at a number of analyst notes and a lot of chatter out there in the market, it ranges from anything from 10 million barrels a day to 30 million barrels a day. What do you think?
I mean, again, I think getting a 30 million barrel a day production cut is going to be really challenging. And that's why the baseline becomes so important. I think it's easier to get a cut that looks like with a headline number of 10 to 50 million barrels a day if you basically apply current production levels. I think the Saudis are going to be reluctant, for example, to reduce output initially below a level like 8.5 million barrels a day. There are whole issues about associated gas production. And so I think right now they're trying to push for the higher baseline benchmark, which would give you a larger cumulative cut number. But again, the devil's really going to be in the details because, again, even if the U.S. offers up a contribution and saying, look, CapEx is down, U.S. production will be down by year end, it's still going to take time for U.S. production to actually roll off. And so again, the question is how much immediate relief in terms of reductions can be brought to the market.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.